that all of you are doing well today. So this video was actually a request from one of my patrons over on Patreon, and that is someone by the name of KB. So I want to give a special shout out to that person. So this video is how I got started with tarot. Now this was a video that was chosen by this person, so let's go ahead and get into it. I want to first talk about how long I've been reading tarot for. So I've actually been reading tarot for several years. It's really hard to say. I probably started when I was in middle school, maybe in the 7th grade is when I had my first cards in my hand. But to be perfectly honest, I probably was interested in it even before that. So it's probably been maybe 15 years, 16, 17, 18 years. I'm not even sure anymore, honestly. Probably getting closer to 20 years, which is pretty crazy to think about. So I was always really obsessed with tarot cards and tarot reading. Every time there'd be a scene in a movie or somebody was reading cards, I'd get super excited, super into it. Back then when I was younger, like a 10-year-old, 11-year-old, I didn't have any books about tarot. I didn't have any resources really. I didn't know what all the cards were in the deck. The only thing I had to go off of was the cards that appeared in movies or TV shows in usually really brief moments and like very small scenes. So I remember being really obsessed. I would get index cards and I would even make my own tarot cards. I remember there'd be cards that I didn't know what they were called, although I did know that they had names, so sometimes I would make up names for some of the cards. Or I would just make up my own cards for the deck entirely. I remember taking some index cards and some business cards and that were blank white on the back and using those as makeshift tarot cards. Unfortunately, I don't have any of those today. I lost a lot of stuff over the years, but I will show you on screen what some of the artwork looked like that I was creating for myself when I was like 9 or 10, trying to create my own tarot cards really. I wasn't really allowed to learn. I didn't have a particularly religious household. We weren't very religious, but it was very frowned upon anything occult, supernatural, magic. My mother is very superstitious, and my stepfather who raised me was basically afraid of the occult, and so it was definitely not really allowed. Every so often I would get lucky and be able to read cards for myself or read books about cards for myself, but I didn't get to do it too often and not enough of the time, as much as I wanted at least. So it was kind of a struggle. I didn't really have the internet in my life at that time. I remember secretly checking out books from the public library about tarot, and I remember falling asleep, reading the book and waking up and that being the first thing I see when I woke up in the morning. And I remember just being really, really happy about it and just feeling like extreme elation and deep inner joy at the fact that I was able to have a book in my hand. The book, it had meanings for each card. Each page was a different card. I remember literally sitting up and reading the whole book in one sitting. I was like ravenous for the information about tarot. As the years passed, I gained more knowledge about it, and as more time went on, I was able to kind of cultivate a general understanding of each of the cards. I still have more to learn. I'm no expert by any means, although I think I'm good enough that I can start doing readings for people, so I have started, and I do readings now, and I do them through my Etsy shop. So I've practiced off and on for many years, and it's been a journey. I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life, and there have been a lot of things that I haven't been able to do consistently, and learning tarot is one of them. Nowadays in my life, I do have the opportunity to learn tarot and study it as much as I want to, although I have so many other things going on with myself. I have so many hobbies and interests and other things that take up my time that I really don't always spend every day learning and working on, improving my skills with tarot reading. But it's been a very, very rewarding journey. I think the best deck that I used for practicing is probably the Witch's Tarot. The first deck I ever owned was actually a regular Rider-Waite Tarot. It was a gift from a friend, although I absolutely don't subscribe to that belief that, your first deck has to be gifted to you. You can absolutely buy it. That first deck that I got, I still have it, but I've purchased many decks for myself, and those decks I much prefer reading with than the one I originally got. So the original one I got was a Rider-Waite, and it was really good for learning the fundamentals of the tarot symbolism, but I think that other decks resonated with me on a deeper level, and as somebody who likes to paint and draw, I really like art, so I have a really big collection of tarot decks. I have over 50 tarot decks and oracle decks. I kind of clump them together. I like to go back and forth with tarot and oracle, and I usually like to read tarot with a little bit of oracle in there too. It's some decks really complement one another. I would say that my 3 favorite tarot decks of all time are probably the Revival Art Tarot, I forget which edition it is, the Influence of the Angels Tarot, and I want to say the Halloween Tarot. Now, I don't use those every day, and I have so many new decks, or sometimes I have decks for different times of the year, so I don't always use those 3 that I just named. Sometimes I have new decks, so I use those a lot more in the moment. Right now, I'm using the Corrupted Tarot, which is a really cool tarot deck. It's supposed to be like a dark, twisted version, like a darker take on a regular tarot deck. So it's like every card of the deck has like now a more twisted and darker meaning. Almost every one of the 78 cards was done by a different artist, and they picture like very, very dark aesthetics and very dark imagery. So it's like a very dark and kind of at times morbid kind of deck, but I really like dark stuff. I love Halloween and like creepy stuff. So Corrupted Tarot is one of my favorite decks at the moment. There are always others. There's certainly other oracle decks too that are really speaking to me right now. Right now I'm definitely using the Yule, Seasons of the Witch Yule Oracle. It's one of my favorite oracle decks. I know that's not a tarot deck, but I'm just talking about it. I think the thing that draws me to tarot the most is the fact that you can really tap into the psyche and the unconscious utilizing tarot cards. I think that they're an absolutely wonderful medium for anyone getting into the occult, because through learning and studying the tarot, you will gain a deep understanding of a lot of occult symbolism across different cultures. It's not just, you'll learn color correspondences, planetary correspondences, you'll learn things relating to the zodiac and astrology. You'll also learn things about numerology and the symbolism of different planets. I feel like the tarot is just a really big tool for learning the occult and the occult sciences. And I think that anyone who considers themselves an occultist but doesn't really use tarot, I feel like you're kind of missing out a little bit. If you tried it and it's not for you, that's fine. But if you haven't tried it, I think it's absolutely worth a shot, because I just feel like it's a veritable goldmine of information, especially for somebody who's just beginning. The thing that draws me to it the most is just the mysteriousness of it. Something about tarot is just so strange and just otherworldly. A lot of the artwork, there's still so much mystique surrounding tarot cards. Most people, especially people who don't read tarot, who aren't into the occult, they really have a very limited understanding of tarot. To them, it is something that's scary, it's something that's strange, and it is mysterious to them. And I think that the more I learned about it, the less of a strangeness there was to it, because I became so familiar with it. But it's nice to know that sometimes I can still see tarot cards and there can still be that kind of sense of like dark, alluring mystery that I can associate with it. It's a way for me to gain a perspective to my situation, to the situation of other people, or to look at the world at hand. It's a good way for me to gain an overview of situations I'm currently embroiled in, things that I'm considering. If I'm considering multiple paths, I can see how I can look at achieving different things that I want to achieve. It's a really good way to understand my standing with someone else if I'm reading for a situation involving me and other people. I think that the tarot is a really invaluable tool for seeing things from different perspectives, and for learning and taking a magnifying glass to your inner self and your inner workings. My most recent tarot purchase is called Zeke's Arcana. It was a Kickstarter of an artist that I follow on Instagram. I really like her artwork a lot, and she released it as a Kickstarter, but I wasn't able to pay for it at the time. I didn't have the money for it. And thankfully, she started selling decks individually after the Kickstarting the funding had ended. So I was able to grab a deck, and now I have it in my possession. So that deck is called the Zeke's Arcana. It's like a colorful take on tarot, and I really, really like it a lot. It's my most recent purchase. I haven't opened the box. I haven't started using it yet, but I'm really, really looking forward to it, and just really happy with it. I'm really, really happy with it. I'm really excited for it. The last thing I want to talk about with tarot is the fact that whether you are considering learning tarot, whether you have a dislike for it or it's just not for you, or if you have never really tried it, I think no matter what, always remember that reading tarot cards is a privilege. There are still places in the world that do not approve of, appreciate, and some places it's even illegal to do things like divination, fortune telling. And so, I mean, we take that kind of stuff for granted because you can go to, some places you can go to Walmart and buy a Ouija board or something, but in other countries, if they even suspect that you're trying to, tell the future, they will tie you up and like flog you publicly. You'll get stoned or something. And I know that sounds really barbaric and insane, but that does happen. I have heard stories of things like that happening in recent years. It's just different parts of the world operate differently, especially within different cultures and different areas. So always remember that your ability to tell the future, to read tarot, to do any witchcraft or magic or even spiritual practices, all of it is a huge privilege because it's not afforded to everyone equally. So always remember that it absolutely is a privilege, and just appreciate the fact that you're able to do it and that you have the ability to do it. The last thing I want to say is if you would like a tarot reading by me or an oracle reading, I have them listed in my Etsy shop. They are email readings for now. Maybe one day I will get to the point where I do video tarot readings and video oracle readings, but if you would like a regular email tarot or oracle reading, they are listed in my Etsy shop, which I have linked down in the description below. If you would like to become a patron and help to support my channel or be able to choose what videos I create next, then I have linked my Patreon in the description down below as well. With that being said, if you like this video, give it a like. If you want more content like this, then by all means subscribe. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching, and I will see all of you in the next one. Take care.